afternoon, YouTube. It is November 720 Sierra. Steve and Emily building a Sling TSI in League City, Texas, in our garage. And let's see, out here we have the elevator, which is the more complex build of the four parts of the empennage, which is the horizontal stabilizer, the elevator, the vertical stabilizer, and the rudder. And actually, even though the plans say build this second, it's best to build this fourth of the set, because this is a more complex build. So anyway, several things that we have built and had problems with, but we finally figured out. But it's taken probably the last video that we shot was about 4 days ago, and we've done a lot since then. We just didn't record it.
A lot of cuss words.
Yeah, and some broken skin and some blood in a few places. You had your first blood, I think, 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, there's this counterweight bracket that moves the elevator. Okay. I think I talked about it in the last video. I can't remember now. But the main spar, this ELBKT009 CFI or CF1, it's part number 3. It's the main bracket, and just so you know, everything goes inside of it. Okay, I thought some of the stuff went on the outside, but it doesn't. Everything goes on the inside of it, and then you do torque down this bolt. Okay, this one here. This one is not torqued down, but this one is. That's all right. We did talk about this in the last build, because we talked about, hey, where is the torque values for this, and we were kind of cussing at Sling for not putting it in the instructions. However, so you know, you got your instructions here on how to build, and this is kind of the page we're on now, and I'll bring you back up to date in a minute. However, I did call a couple people, and in the manual it says see the note at the bottom of the page for the torque value. Of course, it's not there. However, what I did find out is the torque values for all of the airplane. Oops.
Suck it in, baby.
Yeah, knock that off. Pop that back in. Okay. Not exactly right. Okay. So they are in this other manual that comes with your kit. Now let me see what they call this other manual. Sling TSI Kit Assembly Instructions Introduction, and that's it there. And on page, I don't know what page number it is, but you'll see it. There is a Sling TSI, and it talks about the AN3, the AN4, AN5, AN6, AN7, and their torque values. So that's where it is. It's not over in that manual, where it would be nice if it said it was there. Hint, hint, Sling. But anyway, we find it here, okay? And then you've got your conversion tables here. There's a bunch of good information in here. I read this when I first got the kit, but I forgot all that this was even in here. So, but that's where the torque values are, and there's some other stuff. So if you can't find it in there, sometimes it's in this thing. So I just want to let everybody know. So we did find out the torque value was 1.5 to 2.0 torque foot-pounds, which we had to convert to inch-pounds. And remember, it's 1 foot-pound is 12 inch-pounds. So 1.5 equals 18 inch-pounds. So when you're setting up your torque values for that. So anyway, it's torqued. I did have a little orange seal stuff on here, but I didn't like it. So what somebody suggested, and don't put anything on the threads, just put it on the head of the bolt and on the nut, is just take some, because all this does is mark it. It's not important that it holds anything. So get some old nail polish that's some weird color, like bright orange or bright pink or something like that, thick nail polish, and just paint it a little bit. And that way you look at it and you can say, oh yes, it's been torqued because it's been marked. So you don't need any special marking fluid, just get some old nail polish. Somebody suggested that and I thought that was a good idea. So, all right, so that takes care of that. We've not put this on because in Evan's videos, if you put this on, then it doesn't sit flat on here and you can add it in at the very end. So it's not a big deal. Trim motors, and these things are going to get installed tonight or tomorrow. We did install the, what do you call this thing?
Inspection hatch.
Inspection hatch into the airplane on the inside before we did that, and I did this one. I have not put the little piece on here yet. Evan says to do it before you do this, but I don't. It's so easy to do, it doesn't matter. So anyway, okay, so other trouble areas that we found in this, there was a couple. Let me come back around here. Okay, so there's that rib in the middle here and here that does not Cleco into the ribs. They're just a stabilization rib, and it does not connect into these. So it's just in this area. And we put one in over here, and then on the other side we had to really crank it, and we found out it was backwards. So if I remember, I got two arrows here. The face of the bolt, I mean of these ribs, faces back this way. So it's closed on this side and open on this side, if I remember correctly. So anyway, so that's just, you might find that a little challenging. So once you put it in the correct way, they just pop in very quickly. You do have to open up the skin and hold it and get it in there, but it's done. The other things that were very, very difficult were here, here, and here, those little bitty plates that you put in. You know, I did like Evan did. Evan said I put it upside down, put them in, and lined them all up, and I put Clecos in before I put the skin on. Well, then you have to take the Clecos out to put the skin on. Well, I put some tape in there just to hold them in place. That didn't work. So, kind of held them in place, but it didn't hold them tight enough that when you put the Clecos in, that they set in there correctly. So that was difficult. We had to kind of, my wife and I had to kind of hold the thing up like this. This skin is still loose, so I had to reach in and try to hold those plates while she was putting in the Clecos, and we ended up switching back and forth until we got them. So I got those three little things in, but they are not easy to get in place. So if you have a hard time, don't worry about it. Everybody does. And you will get some more blood in here because these are sharp. So anyway, yes, I'm looking in here now. So the closed face of the thing is facing this way, and it's open this way. You'll see what I mean when you're building yours. Okay, so these three are in now, and are in place with the Clecoed in, but obviously not riveted in yet. Okay, let's see, what was I going to do? Oh, I was going to flip this over. Was there any other places that you saw that were very difficult? Do you remember?
Gosh, there were quite a few on this particular piece. I can't think of any more right offhand, but I'm sure they'll come to me as we go around it.
Yeah. At first, I didn't dimple these in, but then I went back and dimpled them in and put them in. It's the outside ones that you do not want to dimple until you get ready to match drill the fiberglass, because just the same as when you're doing the rudder, this piece at the top, you don't want to dimple this until you've match drilled it, and then you dimple it, and then you have to countersink it, and then you'll need some washers with a 3.2 diameter aluminum washers in the back to be able to hold on to the aluminum, not the aluminum, the fiberglass, unless you take fiberglass and build it up. I've elected not to do any fiberglass work at this point. I know we have that coming up in the much later on in the fuselage build with the canopy. There'll probably be some work that we have to do with fiberglass. And I've done fiberglass work before. It's been 40 years since I've done any, but I grew up on a boat. My dad did a lot of fiberglass, so I watched him do it, and I've done some. So I'm not that terribly uncomfortable doing it, but I like Evan's idea of putting some aluminum washers behind that. I think it just gives it more bite. So these have been countersunk or dimpled on both the rib and here, but these have not been done because I'm waiting to do that with the fiberglass work later on. Okay. Most of the rest of this was fairly simple to build. The skeleton came together fairly quickly. The other thing, oh, that's right. Let me flip this over, and then I'll get you on something else that I found that was a little difficult. Okay. Knocked over my water. Okay. All right, the trim tab. Okay, so this is a little confusing on how to get it to go together, but I'm going to show it to you because it'll make a lot more sense. All right. So this is the trim tab that goes right in here, and you'll see me Pico this in just a minute. But you have to put this piece in here, and it was difficult to figure out which way the piece went. But I finally figured it out, and then it makes sense. The drawings are just difficult, they're small, it's hard to see which way these goes. Now, of course, on these you have to cut the rivets down in order to put them in, which I haven't done yet. So that's tomorrow's job. But the hinge, kind of the flat surface of the hinge goes this way, and the hinge part goes in here. So when you're thinking about it, because as the air comes over, you want it to be as flat as possible. So that's the way this goes. I did pull the pin out, as people suggested, and I drilled a tiny little hole in the end, and I cut the hinge, or grind it back just a little bit, and I put in a tiny little hole, and I put some wire through it. So this is not the final wire, obviously, but when you're flying, you don't want that hinge to come loose. So if you put a tiny little hole on either side here and put a little piece of wire through it, then that hinge pin can never come out. So that was suggested on a couple of videos, so that's what I did. These little spots right in here were difficult to get lined up. The four of them, that little piece that comes across here, but I did get it lined up. These were a little difficult to get done, but you've got the fiberglass off and you can look up inside. So that was that. Okay, so again, let me see. Okay, so the way that this hinge goes, oh, and these little brackets go here and they face this way, because that trim tab motor is over here. Let me see. Yeah, about here. And there's a hole for that rod to go through. And then it attaches to this right here. These have not been riveted in, but I'm just trying to get everything in place. All right, so let me see. The hinge does have to go between the skin and that other piece, that little square bar. Which is, again, not easy to get in place. But to get it all lined up. Where's my, oh, here we go. And There we go. Okay, just got a tiny little spot to go in, and it's just difficult to get it exactly lined up, but once you get it, you'll get it. Not a big deal. Just takes a little bit of time. And we'll go down and work on the other side of this and see if we can get this lined up here. There we go. And that should now line up the last one here. And go through. Okay. So it doesn't go up very high, but it does go down a little bit, but you don't need much. Of course, some of this is limited because there's Clecos in here at the range, but that's essentially how it goes, okay? But it does go underneath the skin, if you're looking. Grab some more of these Clecos. Put a couple more in, because there's a rib here, so we want to make sure that we get all this lined up. And once you've got all the rest of these, most of the rest of these line up pretty well. I can look at the hole and I can see the part underneath it, so I know that I'm getting it lined up pretty easily here. So that's how that goes. I wanted to show you that because it's a little difficult when you're first trying to figure it out, but yeah, it lines up really nicely here, and the angle is perfect over here, so it looks really good. And let me come around and put a couple more Clecos in over there. And a couple of those, like 4 of those, and some more of those. Okay. Come on the other side there. One and a black one here. And let's see, black one there. I like to put a few around the hinges here. Make sure, and nicely is right here, you can feel up underneath there and see that the Cleco did go through both pieces so that it's appropriate. Because you're sometimes wondering, and it's sometimes a little tough to figure it out. So. And I need to put a couple over here. And you can reach in and make sure that it's correct. Sometimes you're just not certain. Alright, need to put some in over here. Let's see, I did on the other side already over there. Okay. Let's see what I got left. Not too many of those. on the other side over there, so we're matching both sides. Now that we've got all these hardware in here, we're doing pretty well. We don't need to do every single one, but we certainly need to do every second or third one. And then we can come back and put the rivets in between when we start riveting. And that will probably be either this evening or all day tomorrow. A lot of riveting to do. So one more up there. Alright, so that gets most of that. And my wife will tell you how easy it was to get the plastic off of these.
Yeah, not.
And I went ahead and labeled top left, bottom left, top right, and bottom right, just so I know when I'm flipping it over where I am on the elevator. But that's it. That's the basics of it now. I still have to, haven't put this in here. I forgot the name of that piece sitting underneath here that I got to put on there. But what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, let me put a couple in here. This is that rib that I had a hard time getting it lined up correctly, and I had to go back and do it. I finally got it right. So, okay, that's the one. All right. And so that's basics of most of this. I didn't put all this stuff down yet. Okay, so that's on and in place, and that section is clecoed underneath. I haven't riveted those in yet, but that's the basic outline of the elevator. Let me think. What else was I going to talk about? We have not gotten to the point yet where we put on the trim tab motor, but the bracket is in there. And the inspection plate is there. Now we've got a lot of riveting to do in all of this, and then put that on, and then electric trim tab motor is back here in the Clevis installation. That's kind of last, but yeah, that's the last thing on this part of the build is that. But we did. Where was that? Yeah, I don't know where those wires have to come through. I think they come through right here. Right, yeah, right in there. They probably come through here. In fact, I'm going to have to take some edging material and put it on there, because I think that's where those wires come through. So we got to put some edging material on that. And that will be, we don't want those wires to have problems and chafe and cut, and so that you don't have them at some point in the future not working correctly. So
Don't want them to fray.
yeah, exactly. So
All right, I need to cut this and go check on her.
all right, so I think that's it for right now. We'll pick up on the video a little bit later, but I wanted to show you that because it was hard, and putting those little 3 things in underneath was difficult, but I wanted to say it's not impossible, but it is hard to do. And so I wanted to show you how kind of we did it.
Definitely a two-person duty.
What's that?
Definitely a two-person duty.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot more helpful if you've got two people to work on that section there. So, all right, so there's the basic outline of this. Nothing's been riveted in yet, but that's coming up pretty soon. So I guess that's it for this video. Okay, so hope you like our videos and subscribe. A very gracious person donated on our GoFundMe page. So that was very helpful. As you know, the stuff's expensive, and the avionics, electronics. The guy that gave us the donation is a ham radio operator, and I plan on putting a ham radio into the airplane as I'm building it. So we'll use that money for the ham radio part of it, most likely. Yeah, just the antenna for the ham radio, UHF, VHF antenna for an aircraft is $250, $300. So expensive. That's just for the antenna, not including the radio and the coax and all that sort of stuff. So thank you very much for that donation. That's our first donation. We appreciate it very much. So please like, subscribe, and if you so inclined, please donate to our GoFundMe and GiveSendGo pages. And I guess that's all for now. We'll pick this up on the next one. Thank you very much.